And to details, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received his Chadian counterpart, Mohammed Idris Deby, in New Al Alamein city on the Mediterranean coast on Tuesday, which tackled bilateral ties and a number of African issues. The details.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his Chadian counterpart Mohammed Idris Deby held talks in New Alamein city on Tuesday, which focused on boosting bilateral ties at all levels, in addition to a number of African files of mutual concern, including the situation in Sudan and the Horn of Africa, as well as the community of Sahel and Saharan states. The two leaders stressed the significance of achieving ceasefire in Sudan in order to realize interests of its people who suffer the brunt due to the ongoing war on the Sudanese land and who also suffer from an escalating humanitarian crisis which necessitates a quick interference to diminish their sufferings. On Libya, President el-Sisi and President Deby confirmed that the two countries would support all efforts aimed at attaining stability as well as enhancing peace in Sahel region to confront continuous terrorist activities. During the meeting, President el-Sisi welcomed the Chadian president and stressed the strength of the strong historical relations binding the two brotherly nations. President el-Sisi highlighted Egypt's keenness to provide full support for the brothers in Chad at all levels through transferring and sharing of the expertise in the fields of building Chadian capacities. For his part, the Chadian leader hailed extended and deep bilateral ties and confirmed his country's keenness to develop cooperation with Egypt in various domains. He praised Egypt's support to Chad over decades, as well as its efforts to bolster the Chadian people to realize development. Deby extended his appreciation to Egyptian institutions and companies in Chad, especially concerning the role in consolidating Chadian cultural and educational process, this in addition to the activities of Al-Azhar mission in Chad. The two leaders agreed to activate the work of the Joint Committee to implement what had been agreed on, plus carrying out a number of joint projects with the aim of achieving interests of the two nations.
Following a weekly cabinet meeting in New Alamein City, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli held a press conference on Tuesday. The Prime Minister reiterated his government's commitment to push forward efforts to reduce the debt burden on the gross domestic product and said the government is taking all needed procedures to elevate burdens on citizens, highlighting that low and middle income will be always supported by the government. The details.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli held a press conference in New Alamein City on Tuesday following a weekly cabinet meeting. Madbouli said the International Monetary Fund's approval to release the third tranche of an expanded loan is a trust document in the government's working plan and an important step towards achieving the state's vision regarding economic reforms. The Prime Minister reiterated that his government's commitment to push forward efforts to reduce the debt burden on the gross domestic product. He said international crises had negative repercussions on Egypt, adding that investments and economic procedures succeeded in solving hard currency crises. The Prime Minister said his government was able to achieve positive economic indications of the state's budget during the current fiscal year, despite domestic and global economic pressures. Madbouli said the government is following up providing basic commodities across markets in line with reducing prices. He added that the government is cooperating with the Chambers Federation and Industries Federation to ensure that the increase in transportation prices is not exploited to rise prices of basic goods, noting that monitoring authorities are working to prevent the exploitation of fuel prices. The Prime Minister asserted that the government is taking all needed procedures to alleviate burdens on citizens, highlighting that low and middle income will be always supported by the government. Madbouli added that the government is always keen on preserving the state's interests as it shoulders daily subsidies amounting to $450 million. The IMF announced that Egypt will receive the first tranche of an expanded loan agreement with the International Monetary Fund next week. It said the expanded $8 billion financial support program enables the immediate release of $820 million. The agreement expands a $3 billion 46-month extended fund facility signed in December 2022. The IMF agreed to widen the agreement after Egypt's economy was further hurt by the Gaza crisis. Regarding the liberalization of electricity prices, Madbouli indicated that it is not possible to liberalize them completely at the present time, as the government has developed a plan extended from 4 to 5 years that imposes a slight increase on segments that include 80% of citizens. On another level, Madbouli said the government is working on several goals, which include reducing the level of inflation, reducing debt, increasing cash reserves, increasing the assets of Egyptian banks abroad, and increasing the private sector's contribution to public investments, as well as facilitating procedures for investors. The Prime Minister indicated that the Ministry of Finance would announce the state's taxes policy for the next 10 years to reassure the domestic and foreign investment climate. He pointed out that Egypt is the only nation within the region that has announced the implementation of the state ownership document that aims to maximize the benefit of the state's stalled assets.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration Badr Abdelati attended on Tuesday the swearing-in ceremony of the Iranian new President Masoud Pezeshkian as the country's 9th president. The ceremony took place at the Iranian parliament in the Iranian capital Tehran and was attended by foreign dignitaries and senior officials from several countries, including Armenia, Tajikistan, Egypt, Sudan, Iraq, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Azerbaijan, Cuba and Brazil, as well as European Union envoy Enrique Mora. It came 2 days after Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei officially endorsed Pezeshkian and gave the 69-year-old heart surgeon presidential powers. Pezeshkian won a runoff race against ultra-conservative Saeed Jalili on July 5th to replace President Ibrahim Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash in May. The new Iranian president, who is expected to unveil his government within 2 weeks, had secured more than 16 million votes during the runoff, or about 54% of the roughly 30 million ballots cast. The 9th World Conference of the Fatwa Authorities worldwide wrapped up in Cairo on Tuesday. In his address before the opening session, Minister of Islamic Endowments Osama Al-Azhari said the Palestinian cause will remain the main cause in the Islamic world. According to the minister, Egypt will keep supporting the Palestinian people until they return their legitimate rights. He said Islamic morals is the only means to solving global issues and promised the ministry's support to fatwa authorities to fulfill their sublime missions in Egypt and across the whole world.